Happy Monday, everybody. It is September 8th, 2025. If you can believe it's already 2025, I feel like an old man. And I'm already digressing, but I got my co-host back. Coach Rob is back on the podcast, and I also have a special guest, somebody that I personally kind of call the whoop master, maybe because he whooped my ass in the whoops all the time in arena cross. He probably doesn't even know how bad he kicked my ass in arena cross, but he is raced World Supercross. He's had some top 5 finishes in the 450 class. He is a multiple arena cross champion. He has been a factory pro circuit rider, none other than Chris Blose. What's up, man?
Not much, just hanging out doing this moto podcast. So
yeah,
happy to be here.
Hey, what is the secret to hauling ass through the whoops?
Shift up, grab a handful, and hope for the best.
Okay, that's pretty close to my consensus. I thought it was not being a pussy, so maybe that was my problem.
Same thing.
Okay, just different. Well, I appreciate you coming on the pod, man. And then we have Coach Rob. What's up, man?
Hey, good morning, guys. It's great to be back. And Johnny, congratulations. Since I've been gone, you've brought another life into the world. You've decided to move upstairs. You've got a lot going on, buddy. So congratulations. August was a good month for you. I missed all of you guys.
Yeah. A bunch of people were thinking that we were having like a falling out or something because, you weren't on our podcast. You were just overseas,
Yeah, you got to love social media, right? No, in all fairness, you dropped the ball, didn't tell anybody where I was, so you gave them fodder to just think that the worst happened. So good job.
Yeah. Well, speaking of making babies, did you make any babies overseas?
Yeah, we opened up quite a few doors with the business side of things. So we've got some announcements that'll be coming the beginning of the year. But yeah, it was very, very productive. We were gone for right under 4 weeks, and I'd say it was 95% business, 5% personal. So probably the highlight was we had dinner up at the top of the Eiffel Tower, and I'm afraid of heights. So and the people who were accommodating us, they put us right on. I mean, they gave us the best seat of the city. I was scared shitless the whole time we were sitting up there because literally you're the only thing between you and the bottom. I mean, if you've ever looked at the Eiffel Tower, that restaurant it's a Michelin 5-star restaurant. So it was quite the experience, but I was scared to death the whole time we were up there, but Michaela was loving it. So, but it's good to be back, and it's good to see the chat and then to be on with the legend himself. Johnny, one thing I was curious about when you ask about the whoops, I think the difference is adding another 1.5 feet to your height would probably put you a little bit closer to Chris. So I don't know. That might help in the whoops a little bit so you're not getting your butt pucked underneath you.
Yeah, or if my dick was just bigger. I think that's the problem. I remember Donnie Hansen telling me, he was like, Johnny, what the fuck's going on? And I'm like, what do you mean what's going on? He's like, do you have a tampon? And I'm like, no, I don't have a tampon. He's like, because your vagina's bleeding. And I was like, thanks, Donnie. I appreciate it. So,
Well,
anyway,
when you can blitz him the way he did, you could talk smack,
Yeah. How tall are you, Chris?
I'm like 5'9" on a good day.
Okay, so we're pretty close.
Yeah, we're pretty close. So yeah, you just must have had a tampon in or something.
Yeah. Except for hey, mine was a double maxi pad. It soaked up a lot of shit. So
yeah.
Oh, I love it.
Dude, speaking of just arena cross and everything, like it looked like in your career you went from amateurs to then pro supercross, then to arena cross, then back to supercross. And truthfully, nobody was really able to do as well as you coming from arena cross and then back to supercross. Like I remember the first time you were going to retire, one of your last races, you were so damn close to a podium, and I was just rooting the hell for you. And then I think, ironically, you might have crashed in the whoops. I don't know if I remember correctly, but yeah. So what was the secret for all that?
Yeah, I don't know. I've always really enjoyed the technical aspect of supercross and arena cross. So obviously I raced supercross. I first started in 2006, and then 2014 was probably like my last year before heading to arena cross. Was in arena cross for like 4 years. and then obviously went back to Supercross in 2019 until 2023 when I rode for Mitch. So yeah, it was. I always really enjoyed Supercross and the technical aspect of it. Whoops obviously are one of my favorite things, especially a fresh set of whoops. But yeah, no, I don't know, kind of seem to always excel in the technical side of things. I raced outdoors for a long time, but obviously at the time there wasn't super motocross or anything like that. So there was, it really didn't pay a whole lot. So it just didn't make sense to travel all the way across the country back and forth and beat yourself up for really nothing. So I kind of stopped racing motocross and outdoor series, and yeah, just kind of focused on doing Supercross, arena cross, and then going doing some one-off overseas races and stuff like that. So yeah, made a quite a long career out of it, and yeah, now post racing career.
Hell yeah, man. What's it like working for Mitch? I've heard mixed reviews on working for Mitch.
Man, tough question, because obviously he is Mitch Payton, and obviously I felt like, me being older, I was a fill-in guy. Maybe there wasn't as much pressure on me as it was if there was like Seth Hamaker or Levi Kitchen. But I think when I rode for him, I was 34, 35 years old. So I want to say I'd probably take the trophy on being the oldest pro circuit rider he's ever had. But yeah, no, he was awesome. He's very funny, very sarcastic, likes to joke around a lot. But obviously when it's time to get serious and go racing, man, he won't hold back, and he will tell you how it is, which is good. You got to have thick skin, and yeah, it's I was not yelled at, but I would say grilled a little bit, which is good. I think a lot of riders need that. So yeah, it was good. I got both sides of it.
Hey, Chris, if you don't mind me asking, and not to put you on the spot, but when you talk about getting grilled, can you elaborate on that a little bit? Just for the average listener, I don't think we quite comprehend everything that you're dealing with. Did you get grilled at the practice track, at the races? Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
Yeah, it's more at the races. Obviously, during the week, you're going out with mechanics and stuff like that. So you're not really having that interaction with Mitch. But during the races, it's for sure, he's watching everything that's going on, whether it's lap times, whether it's the starts. He was really big on starts, on trying to drive it in as long as possible. Or if you weren't doing the rhythm section or skimming whoops, he was really big on that kind of stuff. So if there was something you weren't doing, you go to practice, or you go in your heat race or stuff like that, and you come in, you watch film, you debrief with, Mitch and other riders and stuff like that. And he lets you know what you're not doing and that you need to be doing. And like I said, it's good. You can't have those yes people in your corner all the time. And when I rode good, he let me know, so the praise was there, but also the criticism was there as well. And it's, I think, good criticism. I think a lot of people, they can kind of beat people down and whatnot, but he took the good out of things, and then also the bads, but he also, it wasn't things that you couldn't, I couldn't do, so yeah, no, it was good. It's just helpful criticism.
That was going to be the question I had for you was, did he ever ask you to do something or point out something that you thought, that I don't think that's possible, but it sounds like everything he's asked for is pretty realistic.
Check your competition, take out your competition.
Yeah. No, everything was within reason. There wasn't anything that was out of, like, yeah, I'm not doing that, but Yeah, no, it was all within reason. There was a few times, he wanted me to. It was just a bad start on my end. I remember one time he said, "Oh, you should have held it wide open." It's like, Mitch, I was locked arms with that guy. I was trying to fight for position, and I didn't want to end up going down, which would have been the end result. But you know what? All in all, there's little things that they can't see sometimes from the stands, and yeah, no, it was good.
Hey, Chris, left field question for you. When I first went to work with Dungy, we show up at the goat farm, and Barnett had just made the 2 Supercross tracks, and Ricky and Dunge and I were walking the track. And I remember we were standing on the finish line jump, and we're looking at the furthest lane. For those of you that watch video, it's the one that'd be closest to the woods back before it got popped by Star. And I remember Ricky asking Dunge, "Hey, when you come out of that right-hander, how are you going to do that whole lane?" And Dunge explained it. And then Ricky came back with something that was literally polar opposite.
Yeah.
Of all the guys you've been around, like, who do you think? I've always said James, Ricky, Chad, in that time frame, they looked at tracks completely different. That was probably the biggest epiphany for me, being there with Ricky and Dunge. Anybody that you worked with that you just were blown away, looked at the track so dramatically different than how you saw it?
I wouldn't say necessarily. I think especially, when we go to the races now, like, everyone kind of knows exactly, for the most part, how the track's gonna, end up racing, and the obstacles involved and stuff like that. Some things might change a little bit here and there, but for the most part, everyone, that's why you see all these guys when they go out in Supercross practice on the weekends, like, a lot of them just go and hit the jumps right away, because it's, for the most part, the triples are the same. Some might be a little bit bigger, a little bit smaller, depending on layout and stuff like that. But for the most part, everything is so, I'm not going to say cookie cutter, but at the same time it is. And we obviously, we put in a lot of time and work during the week, that we can just look at things and just have an idea on what the line's going to be. Yeah, some people might throw in a couple oddball lines, but for the most part, I think those might just be qualifying lines, and race line might be a little bit different. So,
Chris, AX setup versus Supercross, how different is it, if anything?
It might be slightly different. Yeah, but very similar in how the suspension works and feels. Obviously, with Supercross, you're going a lot faster. Obstacles are maybe not bigger, but because as you know, like, whoops in Arena Cross were big, and then you get the super, yeah, exactly. So you get the Supercross, and you're like, God, these aren't so bad, but yeah, the obstacles still in Arena Cross were really big, and you had to have a fairly stiff setup. I think it's just a touch more, obviously, with Supercross, because speeds are just a lot higher.
Yeah. Okay.
Hey, Johnny, just real quick, Johnny, why did they Arena Cross make the whoop so gargantuously big? Like you're saying, Chris, the speeds are slower, but why have such? Is that just a marquee that Arena Cross wanted to kind of carve out as indigenous to Arena Cross, or what? Because both of you have raced it. Just curious your thoughts.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a great question, because obviously they had Arena Cross, right? And it was, I'm not going to say an entry point to Supercross, but a lot of people, they would go do Arena Cross and before Supercross, and like we said, the whoops were gigantic, and you typically come out of a flat turn and straight into whoops. You had no run at it, so it was all about commitment at that point. And yeah, I don't know the difference on why the difference in between whoop size. Maybe just a safety thing. I don't know, but yeah, significantly different. They would the track crew in Arena Cross, like, heaven forbid they go out the night before and have some drinks and then come and build the track, because if they did that, you were screwed. Whoops were gigantic.
Yeah, maybe they just wanted to cause crashes, because that's where it kind of seemed.
Well, between the corners, right, smashing each other in the corners.
We have a viewer, Chris.
Big ass whoops.
Russ Benson saying, did you ever get to third gear in arena cross? And I'm going to say, yeah, that was through the whoops. You're probably third and fourth and probably second everywhere else.
Yep. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, typically, second around the whole track except for the whoops. Typically, the whoops you were fourth gear. So yeah, typically you like roll through that first turn, that flat. If it was that, typical flat 180 turn, it was roll through third, and then I would shift off the starter whoop going into the whoop before the starter whoop. In the first big one, I would shift to fourth.
So, okay, this has always been kind of, I have a reason that I've hypothesized in my head as to why this happens, but the whoops have always been bigger in arena cross. However, when you went to Supercross, a lot of the arena cross guys were struggling more than some of the top Supercross guys. And so I want to know your answer on that. My answer to that question is complete setup. You go from an arena cross bike, which is still a damn good bike, but then you go to a full-blown factory bike that has much more resources. And so those guys are still able to, I would say the power of those motorcycles were able to keep those bikes up on the whoops and make it look like they're not struggling as much. But what's your reason as to why some of the arena cross guys weren't the fastest guys in Supercross through the whoops?
Yeah, I think obviously it has a little bit to do with bike, like you said. But God, I mean, there's been plenty of arena cross, at least top arena cross guys that were really good in whoops. But yeah, a little bit bike setup, resources, stuff like that. I think make the biggest difference in how good those guys are in the whoops. Don't get me wrong; it takes a lot of skill. That they are the hardest thing on a Supercross track to do, and to learn. But bike setup is key. Confidence is key. So you kind of have to have the full package, and you get someone like Jett or the Lawrence brothers or Eli. I mean, God, they're so good in those situations, especially when they get super cupped out, edgy, stuff like that. That's when good technique, a good working bike is going to be come into play.
Okay. And from, I don't mean to call you an arena cross guy because you've done all of it, right? Just, I know how good you were at arena cross. So coming from, because you were a champ, dude, with the Babbitt's deals. The 9 whoop rule. What was your whole thoughts on that from going from like 12 whoops to 9 whoops in Supercross?
First of all, I was not a arena cross champ. I came very close, but
oh shit, dude, then what the fuck am I talking about?
Yeah, no, came very just point shy of a championship there, but no, was always fighting for one. But yeah, no, the 9. I don't know. I have some gripes with the whole like 9 whoop deal. I get it. It is a safety, can be a safety thing, especially as many bikes hit the track. Like the whoops get so hammered and cupped out and edgy that they just get sketchy. But then it allows the riders to kind of evolve to do what they do, and that's just to start jumping whoops, which is fine. Everyone's got the opportunity to do it. But I don't know. I've had my fair share of crashes in long whoops, and I remember in Phoenix in 21 maybe? I don't know. Or 2020. Yeah, Phoenix 2020. I was riding the 450 class just on some West Coast rounds. We were going to do East Coast, and Phoenix, it was my hometown race, and made the Triple Crown, no problem. It was the third main event. Main event was feeling good. I think I was running around the top 10 mark and ended up, going down probably at the 13th, whoop or so, and ended up finding myself in the hospital. So I definitely see the positives to it, but it also takes away the skill that comes involved with riding whoops and stuff like that. So I don't know. It's good and bad, but at the end of the day, everyone's got to race it, and it is what it is. So,
hey, Chris, you said that you went down in the 13th whoop. You've probably seen it. You've obviously were there riding. What was the catalyst for that accident?
I had, God, what was it? I had dislocated my wrist. I guess I was knocked out for quite some time, having seizures on the track, broken ribs. Yeah, it wasn't the pretty one.
And how did you go down? Because like you said, you made it through 12, you get to 13 and you go down.
Yeah.
What
I
was
think
the
I
cause of the accident?
from what I gather, and don't remember much, obviously, but I think I just caught an edge and just ended up going down. It's not like they weren't very big, but they were obviously very long. I mean, it was, I think in total of 15 whoops, which is a long whoop section. And ended up paying the price for a small mistake.
So you bring up a good point. What would be a perfect number of whoops?
I don't know. I mean, obviously nine, one whoop. Nine's obviously a good number. I think you could probably throw in one more or something like that, just so they're not just going 3 all the way through the rhythms, through the whoops once they start jumping. But nine's a good number, because typically they are the 9 to 10 range in a normal supercross track. When they throw in a long whoop section, it is 13, 14, 15 whoops. So, and that's, man, I'm telling you, that many whoops is tough.
What would you think if they went 5 and then a little bit of a smooth area and then another 5? So like if you start to see the front wheel,
jump over all of them, they would just probably try to come in and jump over all of them.
Yeah.
You think even if they had 5 or 6 where it was just spaced out far enough that you couldn't clear them all? But like you say, if you start to get huckabucked, at least you'd have that little bit of a landing pad to kind of get re-squared away. Because like Chris is saying, I mean, just all of us who love to ride, just imagine trying to hold on to that for 12, 14, 16 whoops. Holy shit.
Well, Coach, if they did split them out like that, you would have guys just whiskey throttle into them, and the speeds would be astronomical. So I think the crashes would be gnarly if they only had 6 and then a little bit of a break and then 6 more. Right.
I was just thinking, like when you miss that first one and the front end drops, at least you don't have 10 more to try to get through, Yeah. But like Chris is saying, if you're already good at them, you're just going to blitz them. And then, like you say, Johnny, accelerate even more on the next flat section.
Yeah.
But I was just thinking a lot of the accidents we see is that rear wheel spins, front wheel starts to drop, and they still have 10 more whoops to go. Where the hell do you go? If you chop the throttle, it only makes everything worse.
Yeah, absolutely. And if it has a little break there, I mean, maybe it's, it's not a terrible idea by any means. And it, I think like you were saying, like maybe the second set might have a little bit more consequences, but maybe not, because you have more speed, more setup time. I don't know. Definitely not a terrible idea.
Yeah. Trying to just get people to not jump through them, because that's the thing that's annoying when you watch Supercross as a fan nowadays is guys end up just jumping through them, and it conserves energy, which is cool, but it's just not the traditional what whoops were kind of designed to do. You like seeing guys kind of haul ass through them and then do a little bit, and those are the guys that really separates the guys that can not get scared, that don't focus on the whoop in front of them because there's a giant hole, but the guys that can just see past all that and just stay on top of them. And so, I mean, I guess one year in like Paris, was it last year or 2 years ago, they used like a steamroller. And now there's like, you guys have probably seen the video of like the foam for the whoops. Mm-hmm. I think that would be kind of a cool idea, because the problem with whoops, especially with the 450s and 4-strokes nowadays, is they start these big round guys and then they start just getting flat and getting steep. So then the last couple whoops or so, guys miss one of them and then drop down, and that's where the crashes start. So if you had something that was, okay, don't shoot the messenger, but just potentially, hypothetically, like a concrete, so they all were the same and they never got cupped and holed out, then you would see guys that would split all of them, because you cannot jump a whoop that's round, because you come into it and you're just going to endo. the only reason you can jump through whoops is when they start getting sharp, then guys can downside them cleanly, you know?
Well, and think about, and Chris has been on both sides of the equation, full factory suspension with PC, and then going the privateer route, it would at least give the privateers an opportunity to hit them the same way that they're going to be hit in the race. Like Chris was saying, the consistency, or rather the inconsistency, is what makes them so damn hard, depending on whether they went out the night before or not. Like Chris said, it's a great example. It's like you don't know what you're going to get when you show up on Saturday.
If I was building the whoops, I would just like maybe 6 in, just have one that's like 6 inches taller, just to fuck with everybody, so that they're not.
Chris, you see how crazy Johnny's gotten now that he's not on the bike? He's coming up with all these demonic ideas. He's like,
oh yeah. I would never. I'd be on the water truck line for sure.
And this is the guy that, damn near ended his life by hitting a freaking wall. So yeah, this just shows you
right. Yeah.
Yeah, this is the alter ego of Johnny. He says, all right, he's like the mad scientist. All of a sudden now he wants to try to find ways to clean people out on whoop number 6.
Yeah.
He's going to set a camera up. He's just going to know. He knows the viral video is coming on whoop number 6.
I don't want anyone to get hurt.
Yeah. No, it's definitely a thing, right? I mean, and I don't know what's changed. Maybe it is 4 strokes. Obviously, the 9 whoop rule, everyone starts to jump early. But even like when they are fresh, like riders can't jump because in the bottom of the whoops, it's literally like a V. You go down, it's like hitting a wall. If you try to roll them, during practice, it's honestly, it's pretty difficult to roll them. It's probably easier to skim them, in my opinion, than to roll them during practice, until they start getting a little bit of it, an arc at the bottom to where you can start jumping. But I don't know what the key is to break. Is it dirt? Is it the 4 strokes? Is it a combination of things? Because there's some tracks where there's some tracks like Salt Lake or Denver where I think it's a little bit harder, to where that you can just skim all night and you don't have to worry about jumping or the whoop itself stays more in form versus getting cupped out and edgy and stuff like that. So I don't know if it's a combination of dirt and bikes and stuff like that, but it is what it is. And I wish they could stay perfect. That'd be nice and safer. But that's not the world we live in, dirt bike racing.
Yeah. So
but Johnny,
it
goes
sounds
back to your
ridiculous,
point.
though, but just have something that's almost like concrete, but with a little pad, so that they're not getting cupped out. And then you'd literally have guys that just wouldn't funnel towards the middle V or the outside edges. Guys could be using the entire length of the track. I think would be a dope way about going about it, even though it sounds scary to have like a really hard pack whoop in case they do crash onto it. But yeah, that's kind of it. Moving on just a bit because of what happened this weekend, I want to know your opinion. So here, how the fuck, because I'm not in my thing here. No. What's here we go. Okay, so you have Deegan's mechanic. He posted this. Yeah, moto fans are becoming so soft. They're complaining about everything. They had a full day of riding on Friday and Saturday. It was a safety deal for not being able to race, but fans are wanting refunds. Right? What is your thought or consensus, Chris, about canceling the race, or at least the second motos?
I thought it was a good call, in my opinion, for someone who's been there and raced that. I don't think it wasn't a rain issue, right? I mean,
yeah,
it wasn't that the track was muddy or that it was raining. I mean, God, how many mud races have we all seen or been in? And it's not that. It just comes down to safety with the lightning, and which I think is a smart decision. But at the end of the day, it is what it is. They canceled it, and and God, how many? I just don't know what the fans would want at the end of the day, right? I mean, they can't have 30 light towers on standby as a just in case. I don't think that's reasonable. But And someone who's raced night races on an outdoor track, back when Lakewood raced at night, it is very difficult to see. And the way that track shaped up all day, I mean, it was biting people left and right, even during, normal sunlight. So when you get to the outdoor side of things and you're racing at night, man, it is so hard to see the ruts, the shadows. And I just think from a safety standpoint, it would have been, you would have probably seen a lot more riders get hurt.
Chris, let me, forgive me for interrupting. Let me give you a little bit of context as well. So a lot of the fans, right, they're saying, hey, like Rotary says, good call for safety, but why not race on Sunday? So Matt says half show, so half refund. The consensus is Duffy was talking about the moto fans are becoming soft, right?
Yeah.
And so I will let you continue elaborating on from a rider perspective on that, because you even had Tomac, I believe, went out and said that back section, moto section was so crazy gnarly. And so for a guy like that to say that with water on top of it, that section was probably totally fucked, right?
Yeah.
But I guess more context on my question is, do you think that moto fans are becoming soft? And do you think that Feld could do something to help the fans out so that they don't leave with a bad taste in their mouth? Or is it just one of these things where it's like, guys, you knew what could possibly happen and that's what happened, so don't piss and moan about it?
Yeah, I mean, trust me, I live back in South Carolina now, so I get it. It could rain at any point, and they had a chance of rain on Saturday. So going into it, I mean, you kind of knew that there was a possibility of rain. Lightning, I mean, that's kind of, I mean, what do you want the riders to do at that point, As far as being soft, yeah. And I know someone who got struck by lightning while racing just, I don't know, a year or so ago, and he somehow survived. But yeah, I mean, as far as being soft, I don't know. I think it's the internet is here now, and everyone's got an opinion about it, so they're just voicing it. Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of hard to say. You're not going to make everyone happy, that's for sure.
Yeah, only closed stadiums for SX and SMX. All right, that's a mouthful, is what Michael says.
It's confusing.
Yeah, Coach.
I would have to agree with Michael. I look at how much money has been put into these SMX rounds, and it just seems odd to me that we wouldn't have a plan B. There's so much riding on these last 3 races. If I think about Chris coming in, let's say he's on the bubble at 10th or 11th, and he needed that second moto to get himself ahead. He's riding good, like he was saying, when he felt like he was just at that Triple Crown, just killing it. And all of a sudden you lose that opportunity. I do think all the Supercrosses and the SMX should be indoors for this exact reason. I know it's difficult this time of the year. We're dealing with college football, pro football. Stadiums are harder and harder to come by. I understand that, but
it won't be super motocross if that's.
Pardon me?
I mean, I guess maybe you could, but the whole idea was having a big long track,
which I completely understand. But then where was Plan B for something just like this? And let everybody know, here is our Plan B. If Chris is there and he's got, his family and he needs to make concessions, it's like, all right, I know I need to fly out on Monday just in case something like this happens, especially knowing that venue does not have the ability to run a little bit later at night because of lack of lighting. So to me, it just seems a little bit a lack of planning. I would just tell all the teams and anybody who qualified, hey guys, I need you to set your arrangements up for either late Sunday night or early Monday morning for this exact reason. And of course, we're sitting here in hindsight Monday morning. Of course, we're going to have all the answers, right? But I just look at how much money's on the line, and not because Chris is with us, but if that cost him $15,000, $20,000, $30,000 when the final round is over, and you look back and you're like, dadgum, I was riding really well, gelled with the track. Everybody's saying the track was clapped out and difficult, and Chris is just on rails. It's just he's jiving with the track. Those are those opportunities that I think, unfortunately, cost somebody that's not on a factory ride. So I would have loved to have seen him come back on Sunday. But I do understand flights and all that. That's why I think it needs to be all outlined. So the teams aren't leaving on Sunday morning and they're going, oh gosh, now I got to rebook flights and get more hotels. I understand that would be a real pain in the butt, but there's a shit ton of money that's on this, and there's been a ton of marketing for this series. So to me, it just seemed like it missed the mark a little bit. I've heard from several people that's why promoters moved from racing outdoor nationals on Sunday to Saturday for this exact reason. But yet we didn't see it follow through. So,
well, because of the logistics involved, would it make sense for, let's say in 2026 SMX, they have an outline of the 3 races, but then like a Friday as opposed to Friday qualifying and press day, that could literally be a makeup round for one of these playoffs in case something like this happened.
Yeah,
so
but the makeup round sucks because Chris is killing it at this venue. They shorten it to 1 moto. He goes to the next one and is on struggle bus trying to get set up. He just got punished because it got postponed versus leave that second day so you can come back to back. Because Chris has got his bike set. The setup's working. He's feeling good. Each weekend, as you know, is so distinctly different. You don't want to lose that opportunity.
For sure. And I think they, it's Monday now, so everyone's got a solution to it, like you said. And, I'm sure they will have a plan B from now on. But I mean, like I said, if it was a mud race, they would have been racing no matter what. Mm-hmm. It was the lightning strikes that were causing the issue. And then obviously being later in the day, they ran out of lighting and it wasn't safe for the riders. So, I'm sure they will come up with a plan B from now on. But I mean, to your kind of point, I mean, it could go the complete opposite too if they start racing, to where someone, what's the chances in a mud race that someone is going to, let's say I got 10th and then I was like, oh, I think I could get 8th or 6th. Like, especially with those track conditions, I feel like the percentage that you're going to improve might be a little bit, right? I mean, you could get a good start and just maintain that, but
or the bike could blow up and you could
blow up and not, I'm not, trying to be soft here, right?
Sure. No, just a reality.
No, you're not at all, because I will highlight Alexander Supertramp. He said listening to you guys is like listening to Trump, and I'm like, thank you. I know that was supposed to be a diss, but thank you. We appreciate the comment.
I concur. I concur. Trump.
All right.
Make shit happen.
Continue. You were saying that not to be soft.
Yeah, but the more the percentage of something bad happening, whether it's injury or bike blowing up or, mechanical, is a lot greater than your actual percentage of actually getting better. So, I see all the sides to it. I understand them all. I think it was the right call at the time, but I think they obviously need to come up with a plan B for that situation. It'll probably never happen ever again. So
exactly. Yeah.
Honestly, I think it's going to happen again. Part of my 2 cents here is because I want to highlight another individual that, hey, by the way, thanks guys for joining the conversation, and make sure you hit that subscribe button. But if you guys want to be highlighted on the show, continue to comment, and we'll talk to some of you guys for sure. How cool would it have been? Not how cool, but like the dynamic for drama, right? Dramatization. Jett goes out there, his bike blows up, right? So now he's got to ride his ass off the next 2 rounds. Like, as far as a public relations standpoint, that would be awesome. And then Tomac wins, in the mud. I think it was somewhat of a missed opportunity, but again, with new information, you got to be able to change your view. And like what I said on my last show was we have new technology. And what Mario says here is he says fans are soft, riders are soft. Ask Ricky Johnson or Bob Hanna what conditions they raced in. He is right, but it's a completely different world back then. Now we have Doppler radar. We have all this stuff to be like, hey, there's lightning 5 miles from here, right? We've got more information to go off of, where back then, I'm sure those guys raced in the middle of lightning constantly because the technology just wasn't there. And if we didn't have the technology, sure, those guys would have been out on the track and racing. But now they've got to make sure that they look after their their marketability with stuff. And it would be horrible if a rider got hit by lightning or if a fan got hit by lightning. So I do believe that there's going to be more cancellations in the future with the open stuff and even in motocross because of, I would say, just the new technology. So you can call it soft. I don't really think it is soft. I think it's more of just we have more information, for a long-winded answer.
I mean, I really don't. If I was still racing, I wouldn't want to get hit by lightning. So,
dude, you already risk your ass off even on practice days.
Yeah, I mean,
why risk
again? It's not the rain, it's not the mud. I mean, God, how many nasty mud races have we all done? Even this year, I mean, it's more the safety point from the lightning, So, yeah. It's not a matter of conditions. It's a matter of just safety at that point.
Hey, Johnny, something that would be interesting if somebody in the chat room is into meteorology and stuff, historically, what's the statistical chances of rain in that part of the country on this weekend? Like you said, there's enough information on that.
Fellow podcaster Moto Fever Media says it's also Feld's insurance agreements. They can't race in lightning, which might be a good point too.
No,
they won't have insurance.
Point. No, it is the point. I mean, they're not doing it. They're not postponing the race because they want to sit around for 2 hours and try to get JB and these guys to talk for 2 hours and keep us entertained. That's the last thing they really want to do. Their insurance policy states that if there's a lightning strike within, I think it's 3 or 5 miles, you must wait 30 minutes. And every time they would reset the clock, right? That's pretty straightforward. That is 100% spot on. But then the statistical chances that would happen should then segue into plan B. That's all. But like Chris said, I mean, we're Monday morning quarterbacking and we've got all the right answers.
Yeah. I mean, I still remember in 23 when I rode for Mitch in East Rutherford, we had a lightning delay. We were getting ready to go down to the starting line for the main event. There was a lightning strike right by the stadium. They had everyone go from the stands to inside, inside the stadium where they were covered. God, we sat down in the tunnel for over an hour, just waiting for the lightning strikes to stop. And they had that 30-minute window that has to be clear. And then we went back out and re-raced. But, it's not like it's a first time that this has happened. Like I said, I just think they ran out of time, ran out of daylight, and they didn't have the correct lighting. And, it kind of is what it is right now, and everyone has their own opinions.
At least they were able to do 2 races, right? 2 motos. Yeah. But also, not to sound like a complete liberal ass, I do think that there is some accountability for the sport to have the fans feel like they got a good bang for their buck. And a lot of them bought tickets, bought plane rides, did all sorts of stuff to see this, and they got half the show. So I think there should be some sort of a discount code that's good through 2026 to whatever Supercross race you want to go to or something, just to keep the fans happy. That might not be a popular opinion, but again, the fans are the ones that are paying for everyone's paycheck. You got to keep them happy.
But why would that be an unpopular opinion? I mean, if you look at customer service 101, right? I mean, it's not the fans' fault the weather came. It's not the rider's fault. It's not the team's fault. It's not the promoter's fault. But that's the risk of doing business, is sometimes you have to take it on the chin.
Yeah.
And it's not about, trying to be the good old boy, but customers rule the roost. I mean, it's business 101. Customer's always right. And in this case, let's take somebody who unfortunately couldn't get there on Friday, because to what Duffy was saying, you had the opportunity all day Friday. Well, what if you had to work on Friday? You couldn't enjoy that. So then you drove 3, 4, 5 hours plus, and you got to see 40 minutes of activity, and you spent $1,000. Just be empathetic to that as a promoter and go. And in all fairness, the promoters have their money. Giving them, see, this is where I love business. Giving Chris a discount code to a future event that I'm putting on, I still have the original money. It costs me nothing to give a 50% discount, because if you come back to my next race, you'll probably buy a t-shirt, You'll probably get a meal. I'm going to get my money indirectly. See, that's where the opportunity cost for doing a 50% discount of any sort is not, the opportunity cost is very, 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 very minimal, because the next venue,
half the people probably won't even use it.
well, I was going to say,
the other
how far are the
you'll
two
make money
venues
off
from each other? Round 1 and round 2 are how many miles apart? And how many people bought tickets to go to all 3 of them? Now, this is where it becomes, you got to be a little bit cautious. You don't want to say, oh, we'll give you 100% refund, because we know statistically speaking, less than 1% of you are going to use it. That seems a little bit of a backslap. Use it, like you said, Johnny, for the full year, for any event that the promoter puts on. It's not money out of your pocket. You've already got the money up front. So it's just, if you're going to run a business and you're in the business of customer service, instead of, I saw several people complaining about this in a positive manner. The ticket says racing, right? In the sunshine or in the rain or shine, we're going racing. Well, you've got to put your money where your mouth is. You put it on the ticket.
Yeah, I do believe that there should be some accountability for the promoter, for sure, for that stuff. But that's my opinion. Yes, still, like you said, Chris, you don't want to get struck by lightning, dude, because if that happens, you're not racing. You're not making money. You've got a wife and kids. This is something this is not your entire life. This is just something that, you do. Right. And at the same time, the fans, nobody wants to see one of them get struck by lightning. And I'm sure from the business standpoint, Feld doesn't want to have an insurance claim of a fan having a heart attack because they got struck by lightning because they were on a 40-foot tall metal frame, So,
yeah.
All right, we can move from that fiasco.
Hey, good job, guys. We solved the world's problems Monday morning. Look at that. Now we can move on to another subject.
Yeah. Peace. And
don't do that.
Drop
Please.
the fucking hammer, WFO. That's
please don't do that.
Life. Don't do what?
Whatever the hell that thing is.
It's a heart, coach.
I know. It's so overused right now by the wrong people.
My daughter does it all the time. We leave.
Your daughter that's 4 years old. I'll leave it at that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Chris, how old are your kids?
6 and pretty much 4. My youngest, his birthday's coming up in a few days. So, yeah.
Are you going to have them ride? Do they ride? Do they want to ride?
Yes, they ride. Yeah. PW.
Ooh, sigh.
We're in the PW phase right now, just cruising around. So, it's a lot of fun. Obviously, I'm not super pushy on it. I want them to enjoy riding and learn what it teaches them. But if they never race a professional race, I will be happy.
Isn't that funny, dude?
Yep.
Like people that, like yourself, that have done it, and you see, like, people only see the highlights of what the sport gives, where they see what happens to the very few. I wouldn't say the rule, but the exception of these guys walking away with good paychecks and everything.
Mm-hmm.
People tend to forget about the guys that get paralyzed, the guys that go through all the pain and torture with being addicted to pain pills and just all the crap that goes on behind the scenes. Because let's be honest, most of the time when you ride a dirt bike, you almost have, at least racing wise, there's a lot of frustrations that outperform, I would say, the successes, right? Like most of the time there's something bad that happened rather than this constant just good. So when I talk to professionals, 9 out of 10 of them are like, yeah, I don't want my kids to really be involved, right? But
you remember when Chad Reed said to be a cold day in hell before his kids are going to race? And then he ended up buying a track and everything else. Well, in Johnny, to your point, exactly, the crazy part is when you zoom out to 10,000 feet, you get so close to it that you are no longer enjoying it. And Johnny, it reminded me of that Instagram video that you put of that guy. And you said, can you imagine being so bad at something, but being addicted to it? And he freaking whiskey throttles, goes over the edge. You just put that up last week.
Yeah, I did, dude. And I got like 10,000 people to look at that story. And then I got I got like 40 comments like, ha, Johnny, this is you. And I'm like, fuck you guys.
Geez.
Like, Yes, I know. I was an LCQ
They've obviously
guy,
not,
but
they've not looked at your instructional videos if they think that's how you ride.
yeah, that's
And
what
I will say this, and Johnny will punch me in the throat for saying it, but
yeah,
if you haven't watched his instructional videos, you'll really get a chance to see how good Johnny is. When we did our performance camp in Arizona, and everybody was just blown away how fast you were. So, yeah. And this is the part that's cool for the average people, because they'll see Chris ride and then they're like, that dude's the fastest guy on two wheels. There's no way anybody could be faster. Right. And then you go out there and you just see the gate drop and it's like, wow, he's in 5th place. Like how is anybody remotely quicker than Chris? And that's the part that just makes our sport, I think, so incredibly unique and surreal, because it's one, I don't know. It's just you guys, and Johnny, I know you don't like being put on a pedestal, but anybody who's got their pro card, bad mofo. It's amazing to me.
See, this is why I want to see a stock class so bad. Okay. Is because like I've talked to MotoGP guys and they're going, dude, I've talked to World Superbike guys that are like, if you don't have the Motor A package and you have the Moto 3 package, there's no way in hell you're going to be anywhere close to the top 10. Talking with just the Moto America guys here, they're like, hey, bike is everything. And yeah, I do know that dirt bikes is a little bit different because you have these constant variables with, hey, there's this line that's changing, there's a hole over here. Like there's constant variables when it comes to dirt bikes. However, there's a huge discrepancy between a stock equipment versus some unobtainium stuff that some of the factory teams have, right? And if you were to just put based purely on talent, and I know I had a small argument with Andrew Short about talent on a couple weekends ago. If you just took 40 guys and had them all on the exact same equipment, they really couldn't touch much valving or anything, there would be guys you never even heard of that would be racing for wins, right? And Chris, like I don't know, maybe because I might be a biased mofo, your opinion, your honest opinion on, let's say you would take the top 100 pro cards here in the country and you put everybody on stock equipment, how would it shape up?
Yeah, I think, you might have some guys who are typically in the back or mid-pack. I think you might have some guys that are closer to the front, and then vice versa, I think a lot of times these factory riders and factory riders from, little bikes, 80s and so forth, they're so used to factory equipment and having all this access to resources and, they can go test whenever they want and all that. You put them on a stock bike and who knows what will happen, I'm not saying that they won't still do great, but it's an anomaly. And I think you will definitely have some closer racing. You'll have some guys up there that typically maybe not be up there just because, hey, that's what they've ridden their whole life, is just stock bikes with maybe some suspension and so forth. But I got one better. I think we bring the 2-stroke class back.
Amen.
Dude, that's 100%. Just old tech though, man. Like those, okay.
But it's the same for everybody. It's the same for everybody.
You look back in the 2-stroke days, right? Early Supercross days or at least even the late 2000 or early 2000s, sorry, like McGrath, Wyndham, all those guys on 2-strokes, Pastrana. Was there as many injuries? Was there as many big injuries? I don't think so.
Nope.
They're not able to do these massive quads and these big rhythms and stuff like that. So I'm a fan. Have a 2-stroke class. Let's do that.
Yeah. Johnny, it reminds me of the old Kawasaki Race of Champions. Remember, they bring out 10 or 15 bikes exactly identical. Everybody had to ride them. I mean, we have a factory Cowie guy that can't ride a factory bike. So put him on a stock bike and see what he would do. Holy shit. Now, what would be,
I just got that. You're talking about Prado. I was like,
yeah, but think about that, right? To Chris's point, exactly. A guy that's pretty much only ridden a relatively stock bike, maybe with an ECU and some suspension work,
Yeah.
he's going to do well on that stock bike, and Prado can't qualify with a factory bike.
Well, he wants his works bike is what he wants.
That's to Chris's point exactly.
Yeah.
Just these guys are so used to those unattainables that they can't ride anything that's not. I mean, look at how many people we know have left teams. Webb left KTM, Tomac left Cowie because of those little nuances that they couldn't figure out. Hey, I have a question for you guys. What do you think is more unattainable? David Bailey's Works RC500 or Jett's KTM 450 or Honda 450, excuse me? Which one do you think is more exotic? Which one do you think would be more unattainable?
Wait.
If you took David Bailey's RC500 and you take Jett's 450, which one has more incredible handmade parts? Which bike do you think?
I'm almost convinced that Jett's running some trophy truck type shit in his forks, like the telemetry that is constantly changing. Because that shit, I swear to God, it looks soft and then it looks hard and then it just looks like it's rolling over everything. Where you'll have a guy like Tomac on his Star Yamaha come through and it just looks like and you know that shit is damn near top tier too. So I'm, because I came in the era of not really watching Bailey as much, I'm going to say the HRC Honda.
I'm going with the Bailey bike because everything back then I feel like was handmade.
Yep.
One-offs.
The gas tank going below the Kickstarter. Remember on that side?
Yeah, they just kind of built stuff, what they thought would work. And that was like, I'm not saying that it's factory, everything's more obtainable now for those guys. But I feel like back in the day, like they just...
Okay, what bike cost more though?
Well, I don't think you're going to find one more expensive than Bailey's 500. I mean,
no,
like
even accounting for inflation, I would still say that Jett's bike is probably more expensive than Bailey's bike, even if it was works.
I would disagree. I would say Bailey's bike.
Cost to build at the time.
Cost to build, factoring in inflation, because I mean, you could literally go through everything, goes something small, triple clamps to pegs. We saw that the gas tank was handmade and went down by the Kickstarter. There was just so many more handmade pieces and parts. To your point, the word unattainable,
Well, Coach, Donnie Hansen was on a few weeks ago, and he was saying that his factory 250s were around like 75 grand each. And that's at the time when
would it be like
brand
82?
new bike was like $1,200 for a CR 250.
250, yeah. So if you're better with,
and that was in the 80s.
Financial numbers. Yeah, that was 82, 83, maybe 80, maybe even 1980. But if you do the inflationary, what would be the equivalent of that today?
Well, I mean, Chris, here, I'm going to put you on the spot. What do you think some of those factory race bikes cost?
I don't know. It's hard to say, right? I mean,
rough numbers. Come on, rough numbers. 100K, 200K.
It's not necessarily the parts, I feel like, that costs a lot. Don't get me wrong. It's a number for sure. But it's more the behind the scenes stuff that people don't see is all the development stuff that they're doing and machining and stuff like that they just have so much access to and ability and resources to do that, where back in the day it was, they're just standing there like, how can we make this better? And they just start making stuff. And that's where I feel like bikes are so good nowadays because teams and riders are able to go out and test whenever they want and have access that day to parts and stuff. It's just, the research and development side of things nowadays is, I think, far superior than what it used to be back in the day. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know what, Jett's bike or a factory 450 would be. I mean,
hey, Chris, in your opinion, what's your thoughts about these riders saying that the bike's not rideable? Ricky's on public record of saying that, his, I think he said his 02 CR, he said was the worst bike he'd ever ridden. James talks about, when he ended up parting ways with Suzuki because he said it wasn't safe for him and he thought that he was wasting everybody on JGR's dime. What are your thoughts about Ricky saying, "Hey, look, this is a bike you have to ride. You have to make it work"? Why? What's your stance on that with today's riders? Why is that such a big issue?
I don't know. I think that's a good question. I think a lot of these riders, they have this, I don't know what you would say it, because they've all been, in my opinion, legends of the sport. You know, you look at Ricky, you look at James, they transformed the sport in many ways to what it is today, but you know, they get on these certain bikes and maybe they just don't jive with them, right? And it's hard for them to ride. I mean, Ricky's bike in 2002 got the handlebars down, you know, by the gas tank. He wasn't doing himself any favors there, but by any means. But I think they have this thing, and I think it's what kind of Prado's going through right now, and this is just my opinion, that, you know, you look at Prado, and was he a 4-time world champion?
Something like that, yeah.
Something like that, right? And he was pretty dominant over there in the MXGPs, obviously, and he comes over here and he just kind of gets, I'm not going to say he gets his ass handed to him, but he got his ass handed to him.
Yep.
And they have this winning mentality that when they're not winning, it's not them, it's the bike, you know, because previously they've won a bunch. And obviously when they get off that bike, maybe they might win a bunch, you know, talking about Ricky and James in their past. But I just think they have this mentality that, you know, they are used to winning. And when they don't win, it's not them, it's the bike. And if they can't figure it out, then yeah, it just kind of confirms that, you know. So I think Prado's going through that a little bit right now. And maybe it changes, you know, for him, what if he switches, which I think is what's going to happen. But yeah, I just think it's kind of that mindset.
I'm not standing up for Prado. I mean, there's been everybody under the sun's talked about his, you know, giving up attitude is what most fans have a problem with. I just think back to like when Honda changed that frame, you know, here he is #1 and they're like, here's a new completely different designed bike. And he didn't like it to the point that he left. And then James talked about he couldn't seem to gel with the Suzuki, so he left. You've got Webb. And I guess where I'm going with this, Chris, is like when you go to Webb a couple of years ago and Factory Connection comes in, they get the forks figured out the way he likes it. And then the team's like, nope, you like it, but we're not going to run it. Where has the dynamics changed where, okay, Chris doesn't like the forks, but they found a solution for the forks, but instead of letting you run what you like, you're getting kind of superseded by upper management. What's your thoughts on, like, it's like the tail wagging the dog? Because then you got the riders saying they just don't like it. But like Ricky was saying, to your point, subframes cut down, bars are down by the tank. Yeah. They made it work. Ricky didn't just quit the team. The team seemed to give Ricky what he wanted. But we're hearing that, you know, Tomac left Cowie because they wanted things that Cowie wasn't willing to provide them. So you've got Webb, who found a solution to his frustration, didn't get what he wanted, so he bought himself out of his contract and went over to Star. What's going on with these dynamics between the two?
Yeah, I mean, you make great points, right? I mean, I think a lot of these teams, they're so set in stone, right? It's all the factories. I think kind of Star changed the game, right? When they started allowing the riders to explore other options that they were typically like, you know, this is what we're doing. This is what you got. If you can't make it work, it's on you. But now they obviously, you know, started exploring other options with parts on the bike. And I think it kind of opened a lot of people's eyes to that. Hey, maybe what you're doing isn't working for some riders and they need to explore a little bit. I mean, you know, like you said, Eli left Cowie because he wasn't happy and they wouldn't allow him to do anything. You know, he went to Star and obviously has had great success. You see KTM starting to do it a little bit more with suspension components. And I just think it, you know, especially after the whole Webb situation he left there because they wouldn't allow him. And then they obviously start letting riders explore a little bit and finding comfort there. So Yeah, I just think it's maybe a little bit of, I don't know if it's an ego thing or what, but yeah, it seems like more and more teams are letting go of the reins a little bit, letting them explore if they're not happy with what they're doing. So I think it's good.
Well, why is the consensus to piss in mode after the fact, right? What Prado did, a little bit what Tom Vial did about talking about all of his shock problems with KTM. Why don't these guys talk about it at the very beginning? Because at that point you kind of say, hey, I'm having an issue round one, and then everyone knows about it. So A, you have somewhat of an excuse to relieve some pressure from you. And then B, you're putting a little bit of pressure on your team to be like, hey, we got to fix this, right? As opposed to the end of the year, all of a sudden start coming up with a giant list of the bike wasn't good. That's why I sucked, was the bike wasn't safe, you know? And then in his scenario, now I definitely think it's kind of an ego thing, Chris, because he wanted to go get back on an Austrian bike for MX of Nations, and Monster Energy and Kawasaki are like, nope, we're not going to let you out of your contract until then, so you can't go race against us, which is sponsored by the Motocross of Nations. It just sounds like a complete just clusterfuck, kind of like what they did to Webb, so he couldn't go race World Supercross last year, where they wouldn't let him out of his contract with KTM. That whole thing is just, I don't know, just come clean. We have the internet right now. Bad news travels faster than good news. Get ahead of the PR. Like take a trick out of the Deegan's handbook is when there's ever any negative press, you instantly jump for it and don't pretend like nothing happens. Like, for instance, Deegan getting arrested. The next weekend, he had merch that he wore to the races and everything of his mugshot, right? And had some of the world-class guys in F1 wearing his shit. He didn't run away from the bad news. He just got in front of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely, like you said, why come out at the very end and start talking bad and not the beginning? It's definitely a weird situation, the whole Prado thing, because at the very beginning, when he first got on Cowie, he was obviously praising them and had nothing but good things to say. And then obviously that tune has changed. But I think a lot of times these riders, they go through preseason and stuff like that, and the bike seems good, right? Mm-hmm. And I've been guilty of it where you think it's good, and you have to end up going racing and get your teeth kicked in and feel like the bike could be better, right? So I think that's where a lot of the riders, they complain about the bikes, but they tend to always get them better, right? And for the most part, you have your few that, like Prado, where you're just still not happy. But at the end of the day, it is what it is. It's a weird situation, but I'm here for it as a fan now, and someone who's not racing anymore. I think it's great for the sport to have that kind of clash, and not everything's going to be perfect like they think it is.
Hey, Johnny, question for you. Tomac has been invited to World Supercross, isn't he? Hasn't he?
I'm pretty sure. Was he on the list?
I thought he was on the list with Webb and the Lawrence brothers.
Yeah, I'm almost for sure that he's gonna race.
And the reason why I'm asking is this will be the first time that KTM has ever been on World Supercross. So what team will Tomac ride for when he goes to World Supercross? Because this was a big bone of contention for the previous KTM riders not being able to go over. We know that Cowie is not a real big fan of supporting Des Nations whenever we go. So there's just a lot of, it'll be interesting. Sexton,
because the Star Yamaha over there is, what's the Yamaha
CDR Yamaha?
Yeah. CDR,
yeah. But this is the thing that I'm curious about. If, we'll just make an assumption.
Tom Vial is in, I believe.
But he's on a Honda, though. That's part of his contract. That's why he's going over there, shitload of money for be able to ride his Honda before he does the MXGPs. But let's say Sexton gels with the Cowie. and Sexton's not going to be allowed to go to Destinations because Cowie doesn't sponsor Destinations. They haven't sent a team to Destinations in ever, right? So what does this mean now when you see Tomac going and doing something that KTM's never supported? Is Cowie going to step up and allow Sexton to race Destinations? And there's a lot of interesting little twists this next season coming up all the way around. And do you think that Vial will end up, or excuse me, do you think Prado will end up at KTM?
I mean, that's what the rumor is right now, but I'm kind of like the Premier Mobility Group. They're still trying to hang on. They're like at the end of the rope, tying a knot, trying to keep what they have. The last thing,
because my question is, that's all we've heard is he would possibly go to KTM. So here's where my big question
AP
comes
and
in.
then Tomac there. I feel like that's a full 450 team right there.
But,
right? Are you going to replace AP with Prado? I think AP's contract is still with KTM for another year. So,
yeah. Well, I heard that he's getting Vial's offer that they gave him for the 450. So 150 base plus bonuses. But here's my big question. If he does not go to KTM, where does he go? Go through every factory team. Nobody has a spot for a 450 rider right now. So if he doesn't go to KTM, like everybody is saying, does he go home?
I think Prado more than likely has been probably his phone book has probably been more of the teams over in Europe trying to get back with the MXGPs is really what I think.
You haven't heard a lot of rumblings about it. That's the only reason why I bring it up.
That's
more
that
KTM and that Vial spot. But let's just say that they can't come. Well, I think he'd have to take it because he has no place else to go. Not here. Yeah. That's the only option.
That makes the most sense.
Yeah. With the Austrian bike and
Now it would have been interesting if he could have raced Destinations on that Works KTM and then we would have been able to see, because we're still here on American soil with pretty much the same guys. It would have been interesting to see.
And it would basically be Sexton's bike.
Yep.
So,
and would he make Cowie look bad? Does Cowie make him look silly? I mean, it would be very interesting, but we'll never know. Not this year, at least.
KTM shares local. Okay, sorry. Somebody was saying Premier Mobility Group signed recently removed KTM shop here, so Cal was replaced with a KTM sign. Sure, it means anything. Yeah, their whole restructuring bankruptcy thing seems like crazy, because I really wanted Tomac to go to Ducati, but the hearings that I heard about that whole thing was it was offered to Tomac, but Tomac didn't want to build a new team. Yeah. He wanted to go out on a team that was all for him, which makes complete sense. Even if your team may or may not be able to pay you because of the stuff that's going on. I mean, hopefully eventually with insurance claims and whatnot, you could get it. But
well, you bring up a really good point. Give me one reason Sexton would be leaving KTM. He's winning. He's shaking the bike down over 2 years. Why is he leaving now?
Well, because of okay. Here's my speculation, right? Hopper's hypotheticals. Sexton has always been a guy to me to where he wants to be number one, and so he doesn't want to share the spotlight with anybody on a team. So hence him moving to Cowie. Hence him moving from HRC Honda when the Lawrence brothers were getting involved. Goes to KTM. Now,
who was he going to share?
KTM.
Yeah, but Tomac wouldn't have gone to KTM until Sexton vacated.
That was the
power play
deal.
So why would Sexton? Who would he need? Who would he be sharing the limelight with?
Well, nobody.
He didn't have anybody. He just had AP.
Now I look like an idiot. Thanks, Coach. He must not just have looked like
he must not be getting paid. Why else would you leave a platform
yes.
You've shaken down a platform for 2 years and you're in the top 3 of a very stacked field of 5 to 10 guys, and he's just going to leave? So I don't know what kind of contract John Tomac put down for Eli at KTM that he feels confident that he'll get paid and Chase didn't.
Very true.
Doesn't make any sense. Doesn't make any sense. Now, if he was still on struggle bus, tucking the front end, as James liked to say, I could see he'd all right, I'm 0 for 2, but he's doing well, and yet he's still bailing.
Yeah.
And
I
hey,
never
think
asked
about
Ian
this.
Harrison
Think about
about.
this. You have Caroli, lifetime KTM guy. Bales goes to KTM or goes to Ducati. You have Hurlings leaving, going over to Honda. And now you have Sexton that's leaving.
Well, and now Tom Viall as well.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I don't know, whatever John, and I always say John because John does all of Eli's contracts. I don't know what he's got that he feels so confident about, but that seems to me like you're stepping on a landmine.
True.
Doesn't make any sense.
Chris, I told you we were going to go just about an hour, and I know we're
gosh.
over that.
This has been good
for the podcast, because we could continue to talk for effing hours, dude. What is the reason as to why you moved from ACP? Arizona, because you were there for a while, right? That was your home base, and now you're in North Carolina.
Yeah, obviously I was born and raised in Arizona. I lived there my whole life, besides, going to train and whatnot in California or Vegas when I was rode for Hart Huntington. But yeah, no, wife and I, we, our 2 kids, we decided to move out to the East Coast of South Carolina. And yeah, it's been a great decision. Our main reason was obviously I own Phoenix suspension. It's what I started before I quit racing, and had an opportunity out here to put it at a training facility at Next Level 101 training facility. And we kind of just also wanted a better life for our kids to grow up in. And Phoenix, Arizona was getting pretty slam packed, and yeah, we just came out here. We loved it, and yeah, we're out here full time now. So
cool. Lots more rain, lots of humidity.
Yeah, it's not bad though. I mean, if you think about it, Arizona, or especially Phoenix weather, is terrible, especially in summertime. I mean, 115, 118. I mean, that's not uncommon. And yeah, we get rain out here, which is nice. I think I woke up this morning, it was like 59 degrees, so that was cool.
Nice.
Yeah, a little slower pace, which is nice, better living. So yeah, kids are enjoying it. We're riding a lot more. There's obviously a lot more tracks out here. I mean, because we're right by, North Carolina, Georgia, all those places. So drive a couple hours and you can be at, 15, 20 tracks. So
sweet.
Hey,
dude.
Johnny, Chris is too humble. He won't talk about this, but he and JP Money have just launched an amateur Supercross development program. So if you don't follow him on Next Level, you're missing out. These tracks will make you salivate. The tracks are phenomenal.
Yeah, Chris, tell us, before I let you go, tell us a little bit about that and how people could get involved with that.
Yeah, Jess and I, we came up with the SX Blueprint. It's a development Supercross training program for riders, on 60s and 80s and stuff like that, to start learning how to properly ride Supercross. I mean, when I came into the Supercross world, there was really nothing. It was like, just go racing, and hope for the best. And obviously I paid my dues. I learned the hard way, and it's kind of changing nowadays with training facilities and having access to a lot of great coaches. So yeah, our main goal is to kind of just let these riders learn how to ride Supercross, but in a tamed down Supercross track, right? So obviously Supercross is super dangerous. As long as I think you're on 2 wheels, it's going to be dangerous. But Supercross kind of, amplifies that, and we're looking to just make it safer for them to learn on. So yeah, new program. You people can, contact Jess or even go to their website to inquire about it. It's nextlevel101.com. They spell a little funky. It's NXTLVL for Next Level.
I like
all
that.
their content. Yeah, all their contact information's on there. So we're super excited about the program. It starts in early October, and yeah, it'll be good.
I wanted to make sure you got that in there, Johnny, because when I saw that, we've been fortunate to do a little bit with Next Level when Daniel was there, and then he moved on. And then when we heard Chris was coming in, and then I saw that announcement, I was like, oh gosh, this is so desperately needed. So Chris is too humble to talk about it. So I wanted to make sure we got that out there.
Next Level 101.
Yep. That's their Instagram page. And obviously it has a link to their website, their contact information as well. So if anyone's interested, like I said, they have not only the SX Blueprint, they'll have a full Supercross track for their full-time Supercross guys, Arena Cross. They'll have amateur Arena Cross track as well. Man, they kind of have it all going on as they continue to build their facility up. So, we're super excited about it. So,
badass.
Highly recommend. Highly recommend.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Well, that is it, guys, for the Monday show. As always, keep it WFO.